This podcast is brought to you by Independent Building Advice. IBA acknowledges traditional owners of the land and waters this podcast is recorded on. If you find this episode helpful, follow us for more so we can continue putting out free value for all homeowners in Australia. It really goes a long way. Enjoy the episode.
Okay, welcome back to the Home Building Podcast, where we have got a friend of mine and also an expert real estate agent, Chadi Damouni, with us. We actually want to get his feedback on a lot of things about property, a lot of myths that are happening out there in property and building and renovating, things that you should keep in mind when you're doing these things because they're amazing. Chadi is not just a random person we've chosen. He is actually an expert real estate agent. He's been doing it for 12 years. He's worked for Bourkes Property currently in South Perth. He's been involved in actually building up a lot of real estate agencies in the past. He does property not only from South Perth but all over, and are wide ranging from investors right through to people building their forever homes or even buying their forever homes. A wealth of information. And the reason why I've got Chadi on board is some agents, and I'm talking to you here, Chadi, and welcome aboard, by the way.
Thank you, Behan, and congratulations on your big milestones in getting this office up and running. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, so we love it. Still a bit further to go, but we're getting there. But the reason why we want Chadi on here is because there's a lot of really amazing agents out there. In fact, there's not that many amazing agents out there. There's some good agents out there, and there's some average agents out there. But the amazing ones like Chadi is actually few and far between. And I'm not just saying that. You are really good at what you do, hence why we've handpicked you to be on the show, because there's a lot of agents out there.
Thank you.
To get the right information. So a big thing here is I want to talk to you about the myths of real estate. So it's when I'm designing houses, or we're designing houses and we're talking to them, we're really looking at making sure that the clients are not only getting the homes functional for themselves, that's number one, and making it an awesome house that they love and it's great, ticks all the boxes, but you should always keep resale in mind. Yeah. I think everybody should, even if you're going to live there forever, you should keep it in mind. Life happens. But some of the things that happen out there, I'm curious as to whether they're true, because everyone says it. Like, for example, big one for me is people go, you have to have a bath in the house. You have to have a bath. If you don't have a bath, it's bad for resale. All right. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I think a bath is a big attribute to a family home. I don't think it's too much of an attribute to a smaller home. So let's say that we're selling a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom or 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. I think it's less important in that sort of market. But once we get to the 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom family home, I think a bath is a huge attribute. Obviously, parents want to, bathe their kids. Mums and dads want that break time where mum just jumps into the bath and has a relax, get away from the kids, their own private space, that sort of thing. Yep. So I think a bath is important in some aspects of real estate, but not in other sort of markets.
Yeah, okay, and that makes sense to me, because I do think that is who are you appealing to? Like, if you're doing a 3x2, for example, and you're appealing to people who are downsizing, well, they may want a bath in the main ensuite because they can relax, and the kids have left home so they can actually relax if they're downsizing. Yeah. And I think if you're aiming at growing families, then a bath is probably, especially when you've got young kids, is essential. What about double vanities in an ensuite? Like we're building, everyone wants double vanities. I've got my own opinion on it. I think, personally, I think you've got lots of space, and yes, double vanities are great, but if you've got a limited bench, then one vanity, a nice big fancy one, is great. But double vanities for resale, thoughts on that?
Yeah. Double vanities in 2025, Behan, seem like they're more of a fad than anything else. I think it's a designer option where people have grown to just want the double vanity just out of, not necessity necessarily, but just out of style and
default,
and look as a default, right? So not having the double vanity, it sort of feels like you're deficient in your bathroom now. Whereas I think 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't as important, whereas today, it's sort of a big ticket item when people are designing a bathroom.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's actually funny, I generally find the person that's pushing for the double vanity the most is the neater of the couple. Because it's normally they're the ones going, I want 2 vanities so I can show the partner how messy they actually are. So I just find, I go, wait, so you're the neat one. I go, yeah, how did you know that? Lucky guess. So it's, but yeah, look, again, it is one of those things I want to have that. Like, obviously there's lots of other things that people have to have, stone tops and overhead covers, things like that. But yeah, it's one of those essential ones. Okay, and what about kitchens and that? Is there things in the kitchens that you see a trend of that people have there, but they don't necessarily, it doesn't really help with resale? It does help with resale.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing with a kitchen these days is having the breakfast bar.
Yep.
I think everyone wants the breakfast bar, whether or not they need it or not. I think it is a function of a kitchen where the buyer will look for a breakfast bar and go, look, we want a breakfast bar. I think the double oven has become a big thing now, whereas sort of 15, 20 years ago, the double oven was a rarity. We'd only see them in boutique homes, whereas we're seeing them more commonly in sort of even your sort of mid-spec homes creeping in. So they're the sort of two things. I think stone bench tops have become a norm now. Obviously now, as you would know, with Laminex sort of being phased out, I think stone has become a norm. So there's not much.
Well, the prices come right down, so it's so affordable. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Someone said to me a while ago, though, that the appliances are the only label in the home that you see. So when you actually... Is it worth spending money on really good appliances in your home? Do people really take value into that? Or is it something that people think it takes value, but it doesn't really?
I don't think the buyer actually looks at appliances in that much detail. I think when we're selling high-end property, they're looking for the Miele, Gaggenau brand. But as far as a standard home, sort of 800 to 1.5 million, I don't think the buyer is focusing on brand. I think they're just looking at a nice, clean finish.
Gotcha. So if there's a standout killer like a Miele or whatever, then maybe. But if the kitchen looks great, they're happy with it.
Yeah.
Because I guess appliances you can swap in and out. So
Yep.
I guess you go, oh, if we're not happy with it, it's not going to stop us buying it.
Absolutely. And you'll see the renovation tart-ups where they just look clean and they've got nice clean lines and the stainless steel sort of appliances and nice cabinetry. People don't really look past that when they're buying. And don't forget, Behan, when people are at a home open, they've literally got 15, 20 minutes to make a decision.
Yeah.
So their focus isn't really on the minor details. They're just looking at floor plan, backyard size. Is this going to suit our lifestyle?
Does it feel good? Does it feel like me? Yeah.
Correct.
Which is so I'd imagine the same thing would apply then to bathrooms, that if you have like Vanities and that are the world's best made basins, that if it looks good, it's fine. Like, is that am I right or?
That's right. No one's looking at brand specific. And look, most buyers wouldn't even know the difference between, I don't know if we're allowed to plug a brand here, but between a Caroma or another brand. No one's really looking at that fine print on the basin. Yeah. They're just looking at clean lines and a nice finish.
And as you said, you got a 15-minute well around. Are you in or out, especially in this market, you got to make a decision from there. Correct. So PowerPoints, I guess people, every house I've ever looked at, I haven't really thought about the PowerPoints when I'm buying established until I'm in there going, why is there a PowerPoint here? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
You would buy a property, most PowerPoints are hidden behind couches. Sometimes they're non-existent. You might have one or two in a room. Once the furniture's moved out, a buyer moves in, then they're counting PowerPoints and going, wow, I don't have enough PowerPoints, or there's so many, wow, what a surprise. So people at the home open don't really sort of focus or analyse PowerPoints, brands, etc., unless they are the high-end brands like say like the Miele's, etc., etc.
So one of the first questions we ask somebody when we meet with them is, how long do you want to live in the home for? What's the plan for the house? And that's the first question, right? After, hi, what's your name? And the reason for that is because that tells us what we need to recommend. So if you are going to build and live in this home forever, then PowerPoints are really important and the appliance are really important because we're tailoring it for you. But if you're going, hey, we're going to build this thing and sell it straight away, or it's an investment, then you're right. You need to think in that investment mind and actually take yourself out of it and be cost effective. The less you spend, the more you're going to make in return. What are some things, what are some mistakes that people make when they're building and renovating to, like let's say I'm going to put my house on the market, and what are some mistakes that you see that they do for putting the house on the market to maximise the resale?
Yeah, I think some mistakes that people may make is going for that high-end finish. If you're going for resale, you just need it clean. So, some things we recommend when we're going for appraisals is mulching the gardens, getting your grass green, basic things that will look great in photos, but you may not really micro focus on when you're at the home open. And mistakes, going back to your question, mistakes people may make is overspending on those appliances when it's not necessary.
You said something awesome there that it looks good in the photos. And I remember you actually showed me, I saw one of your presentations that you did, and you actually showed the same photo, and if you can give it to us for the podcast, that'd be great. We can actually show it here. That showed the same photo of the same thing, and you actually asked us, which one looks better? And it was actually the same photo, but done with a professional photographer. And when you think about resale, you think about people live looking at it, but you do have to keep the photography in mind. And I hadn't thought of that, and that's a good point, because if it looks good, you're going to get them there to start with.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the biggest aspect of real estate is promoting that property in the right way to get the buyers through the door at that first home open. And that includes that twilight photography that we're talking about, the videography is becoming a big thing in real estate, and the reels, the clickbait. People just love clicking through reels and going through those homes. Even if you're not a buyer, you just want to see what the neighbours are doing, or you want to see what's in the area and what's going on in the area, or that dream home. You know what I mean?
So, okay, what are some considerations that, we're talking about items for resale, but what are some considerations people should take into account in this current market when buying and selling to get the best results? Because there's people are often, I don't know when to buy, what to buy, should I sell, should I buy something else, should I do a subject sale, whichever. What are your thoughts? Because, your finger on the pulse.
Behan, I'm going to get a bit vulnerable with this question. So as you may know, and you do know, that I recently sold my own property. And I gave myself a 3-month, well, when I say my wife and I, we gave ourselves a 3-month settlement period, thinking that we were going to be fine to find a property within that 3 months. Me being a real estate agent, I had a massive advantage, right? We're appraising and selling properties, and we've got other reps in our office bringing in stock.
You're connected, yeah.
I thought I was great. 6 weeks out of settlement, I'm now homeless, thinking, what am I going to do?
Oh, my God, yeah.
So we found a property. It came in through our sales team. It was off market. A lady was thinking about selling, but she was in the same predicament as most sellers. She needed to find a property in order to sell.
Yeah.
So I took a risk. I offered that seller a 6-month settlement period in order to give them enough time to find a property. Now, fortunately, we have a large caravan. It's an amazing caravan. It's beautiful. And I love staying in a caravan. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, mate. I've travelled Australia with the kids. It was the time of our lives.
Yeah, amazing.
So we made a decision to place that offer on that property, giving that seller a 6-month settlement in order to secure a property, mate. So we are 4 months out of settlement today.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
We're moving into our caravan. Yeah. But these are the sacrifices you need to make. Now, we've purchased in South Perth, a very affluent area, a very buoyant market, lots of competition. So we knew we had to take sort of a risk and I suppose put ourselves outside of our comfort zone in order to secure the property. But that's the sacrifice we've made in order to get into this market. So you can imagine what other buyers and sellers are thinking out there trying to secure a property in this market.
Absolutely. And you're in the night, you're practicing, you're doing it for 12 years. Because the thing is, though, you think 3 months, I would all day long, I'd be thinking that's plenty of time. But you're right. And finding the right place to get on board is terrible. But like you said at the start, is having a strategy is key. Now, you have a strategy. You could take that risk because you had the caravan backed up. And you went, okay, I can risk this happening because I've got something solid there. I've actually, they're out of it now, but I've had 2 clients who are actually camping in their friend's backyard while their home's being built because they didn't want to spend the 51 grand or something in a rental. So it's crazy. But having a strategy there, I think is a big part of it. I actually had a similar story where I actually had a client, myself, I put my house on the market and this is about 10 years ago. And I went, okay, I've got 28 days to finance, I've got 28 days to settlement, so that's cool. We can find another house in that time. Got a cash offer within 3 weeks. And went, oh, great, signed the cash offer. And the agent turned around to me and goes, get out. You got 21 days to get out. I went, oh my gosh. And then rang the school out because I go to a local primary school and they said, well, no, if your kids aren't in the catchment area, you have to get out. There's one house on the market that was for rent. It wasn't even for sale. We managed to rent that and then in the end bought it. That's a whole different story. But yeah, you're right. What you think is the best way to go, even the experienced people like yourself can get caught out.
Yeah, and how dynamic. And we could have chosen to go into a rental property, but we've got 4 months. So securing a rental property, most landlords want a 12-month lease. Yeah. So it puts us in a situation with a double move. And the bonus is, if I find this lovely seller a property within that 4-month period, She finds a property, she moves into that property, and we get to settle earlier. So there is a bit of method to our madness, but it was a great block, mate. It was an 800 square metre block of land, South Perth, 2-storey home. Yeah. It was our dream home.
Magic.
So we took the punt and we secured the property.
Yeah, it's going to pay off as well.
Yeah.
So when you're with clients, do you actually help them with their own strategy? Because I think you need a selling strategy and a buying strategy. That's sort of, do you help them with this?
Correct. Every seller in this market is asking us what is the best path to purchase in this market, and we cater that around their own specific circumstances. So everybody's on a different journey. Finance is a huge thing right now.
Yeah.
Can you bridge? Do you need to sell in order to buy? Are you a subject to sale buyer? And once we ascertain this sort of information, we can then put together the strategy for that particular seller.
Also, I think if they want a particular area, they have to have realistic money set aside to actually buy that area. Because if you're trying to get the cheapest house and get a bargain in there, well, your chance of finding the place that you want that ticks all the boxes for you is going to be rare. However, if you've got a realistic budget for an area, then your chance of finding something that's good is good. Is that
correct?
Yeah.
Here's a little fun fact for you. The average, it's not even days anymore, it's months. The average time period that it takes a buyer to purchase a property in today's market is actually 7 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's completely blown out. Pre-2019, we would say that, 3 months would be plenty of time to secure a property.
Yeah.
You'd probably have a choice of 5-6 properties within a specific area, and you could secure one of those properties very quickly. Whereas in this marketplace, it's taking buyers 7 months, and a lot of that has to do with the demand, with the competition. Where we're taking 4 or 5 offers on a property, and of course, 4 people need to miss out, and the one lucky buyer takes it. And it's sort of out of your control. How far do you go until you reach your comfort zone on that purchase?
Absolutely. I'm sure you don't have the stat, but it'd be interesting to find out is how many offers they put in before they actually got the actual one. Because I reckon they would put 3 or 4 in and they go, oh my God, we've got to change our whole thought process of what this is going to cost us, because we're going to keep missing out forever. And that pure frustration. We have that in building, that we have a lot of people that they've looked to find something established for so long. They go, we don't want to build, but we've given up and we're going to build because we just can't find what we want for anywhere near the price that we want. And it's a common thing. And they keep, right through the pre-construction period, they keep checking to see if something's on the market yet, but the same thing's still the same there. And I think that's where a good agent sets that realistic expectation for the client and goes, this is what you're getting into, just so you know. So they're not halfway through and go, oh, we had no idea. If you can guide them with that, they're going to get the best possible results and actually somewhat enjoy the process.
100%.
And ideally get good result selling, but also good result buying.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, enjoying the process. It's a stressful period anyway.
Yeah.
Selling your property, putting your property on market, preparing it for market, going through the home open process, questioning yourself as to what's the best price? Is this the best offer to take? Is this the right time to sell? All of these questions, it's a stressful time period. Yeah. So it's even exacerbated in today's market. Yeah. So you're right, having someone to educate you, to guide you, to hold your hand through that process is imperative. And that's what we do.
No, that's awesome. What's the process that you go through putting your house on the market? And some of those bought and sold a lot would probably know this, but every agent's different. Walk us through what's involved.
Yeah, the biggest thing when you're putting your house on the market is presentation. So whether or not you've got cracking in your cornices or paint that needs tidying up or gardens that aren't quite there, the presentation's everything. So when you're going to market, obviously we all know there's a process prior to going to market. It's sort of like that 3-4 week process where people are just getting rid of junk, decluttering, preparing the gardens, mulching, getting the grass green, staging. Staging's a huge thing these days.
What's staging? Well, I know what it is, but walk us through it. Yeah.
Staging's where if you've got a vacant property, and let's just say the property was an investment property and the tenants moved out and now the property's vacant, it never photos as well as a vacant home. Rooms, the perception of the size of the rooms, you can never get your head around sort of what can I fit in this room, a queen bed, a king bed, how does that all come together? So when we get the stagers in or the styling company in, they'll stage it to the proportions of the room. Yeah. So when we go to market, when we take those photos, the rooms look amazing. Yeah. Everything fits well. The buyer's got perception, so they've got confidence in moving forward with an offer because, yes, this suits me.
Yeah. No, it's actually interesting. I've had clients we design houses for, and we've gone through their profile. Like, tell us about your lifestyle. Do you like entertaining? What are you doing? And then they'll come back to us and go, we want that house that we walked through the other day. And you go, that house is completely wrong for you.
Yeah.
What do you like about it? Oh, we love the colours. And you go, oh, okay, we just do those colours in this house. But it's funny how you actually have a great design, and bad colours that will ruin your house. But staging makes a massive difference. That the colours and this is my home. I feel homely here, and I can see where the beds or the study desks are going to go. The whole thing. I absolutely makes a lot of sense to me to spend time and energy on that.
Yes. Yeah, and people are investing the money right now. I mean, it is an investment, but buyers are very much, sellers, I should say, are very much aware that investment will come back in the sale value. They've run statistics on this where they've seen 4 to 5 times the investment of the staging come back in the sale price.
Absolutely. And do you organise that for them? Is that what you do? Is that part of what Bourkes does?
Yep, we do. We put together, we introduce the seller to the staging company, and they liaise with the staging company and see what's right for them. How much they want to spend, their budget. If they're budget sensitive, the staging company might recommend staging the formal areas and the main living areas and maybe a master bedroom.
Yep.
Or they may stage the entire home and go all out. Yep. Always recommend going all out. It always presents a lot better.
Well, you get the money back, don't you?
Yep, and it's a final package. So the buyer walks in, and a lot of the times, Behan, the buyer actually asks, is the furniture included or can we buy the furniture?
Yeah. You've done it right. You hit the market right there.
We've hit the mark,
Awesome. So so you do the staging, and then obviously the marketing's with that and the photography.
Yep.
And then what's the sales process behind that?
Yep. Then the sale process is, once we've got the staging done, we go to market. We ensure that we go to market very early after the staging is complete, because we want to maximise the staging for that first weekend, because obviously it costs week in, week out. Generally staging is a 4-week package, and then if the property's on the market beyond 4 weeks, you've got to pay weekly. In this marketplace, we rarely ever get to 4 weeks, so the staging's covered itself within that 4 weeks, but we still want to maximise that time period.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's also a matter of getting the price right as well. Like, maybe on the market for a long time, if you got the price way wrong, and I've seen it from people that clients might be a bit off what they think their property's worth, but you get the emotional. I've got a bigger robe here, so therefore I need $50,000 more than the house down the street. Doesn't always work that way. So
yep, I opened a house last night, for instance. A buyer walks in, says to me, Chadi, from 1.3 million, this seems like a bargain. I asked the buyer, are you a neighbour? And she says yes. So there we go.
Yeah. What a lucky guess, eh? Yeah. And that's 100% right. And that's everyone. Yeah, it's funny how people can look at their own home and go, "Oh, my house is better than them." And going, "Really?"
Yeah.
As a third party looking at it. So then you put the house on the market. There's different strategies that agents use for marketing it. So some will put up a price. The house is this. Some will say from. Some will go contact agent. What's the background behind those different strategies? How do they sort of work? Because I find a lot of people are confused as to what works. I know, speaking to people, that a lot of people go, if it doesn't have a price on, I won't inquire. What's the methodology behind that?
Yeah, look, generally when we don't, I'll be honest, the no price strategy has become a trend.
Yeah.
So most agents are incorporating that, and it frustrates buyers. So I try to avoid it. The only time I will use a no price strategy is when we can't pinpoint the price in the market. So let's say we've got a home that we believe sits in the mid 1 millions, but we don't know if it sits at 1.4 million or 1.6 million.
Gotcha.
In this marketplace, that $200,000 gap can be bridged very quickly, depending on how much demand is on that property.
Gotcha.
So we'd rather put no price on a property like that in order to ascertain where the market sees value, where the buyers see value.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, because that's a big difference. But you're better off getting, I'd imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, you're better off getting 3 people wanting to buy the place than just one. Then you can do your job and create that frenzy of purchasing, and hey, if you really want it, you got to put in a good offer, and that's when you can do your job, and that's where the real agents, the really good agents, are worth their money, because they're going to get that property from the 1.4 in that case to the 1.6 or above, which I know you've got a good track record of doing, to really get it up there. Whereas another agent will go, we'll just settle for whatever the client, the person selling it wants it. Is that sort of how you see it?
That's right. And look, it does frustrate buyers, but at the end of the day, who are we working for? we're working for the seller.
Absolutely.
So the seller's paying us, so we need to ensure that we're using the best marketing strategy to ensure we get the most out of the market.
Yeah.
And as sad as that is in today's market, I know, I do feel for the buyers that miss out. You know, at most home opens, we're seeing 15 plus buyers through the door.
Yeah.
You know, that means 14 people are missing out, mate.
Absolutely, yeah. But that's supply and demand. That's the way the world works, unfortunately.
It is.
But at the end of the day, as you said, you work for the person selling it. You need to make sure that they're getting the best possible price. And then I guess you would, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you would have to adjust your strategy depending on the product.
Yeah.
You know, like if they're doing a rear home in a strata lot and they're selling that, that would be different to someone building in South Perth on the waterfront. You'd probably change the strategy around to suit.
Yeah, well, Behan, even a rear home to a front home. So in making comparisons, when we put together a comparative market analysis, we've got to compare to like for like. So when a seller may compare to a front home that's sold in the area, and we try to say, hey, look, we've sort of got to compare to the rears because we do lose 100 square metres in driveway, and the rear lots sometimes aren't as desirable as the front.
Yep.
They're becoming more desirable. As the demand's increased in this marketplace, buyers have become less picky, so the rears aren't as big a problem. But conventionally, 10 years ago, prior to this big boom that we're running, this boom cycle, buyers were very sensitive on the rear property to the front property.
Yeah, well, I think that my first preference would be a front one, but then I can't get in the suburb I want to get into, so then I'll look at a busier road or I'll look at a rear block because, hey, I have to compromise or move further out, and then eventually you're in a suburb you don't really want to live in. So, yeah, I guess it's the way it works, and everything's got its price and its value. Do you want to live in a location or, do you want a better home? So it works out from that way. All right, so time for the question that we ask everybody, and that is you're building or renovating a house, you've designed a home that you like, whichever you're about to pull the trigger, and all of a sudden you get this letter in the mail and it's, hey, Chadi, here's $10,000 check. You must spend it on your home to make it amazing. What would you spend it on?
Yeah. Behan, you know more than most. $10,000 doesn't buy much anymore, mate. So at the end of the day, it goes back to landscaping and presentation.
Yeah.
So if you can landscape a property and either give it a quick paint job and a stage, that's where you'd spend the $10,000 on. These days, $10,000 doesn't get you a renovation, but you can use it to polish up that property, getting ready for photos, getting it ready for market.
Awesome. Now, that is the answer if you're going to sell your house. But let's say it's your own home, you want to live there forever. Putting on a spot here, what would you spend that 10 grand on?
Okay, $10,000 if you're living there forever. Look, I would still move towards landscaping. I just think that $10,000 may get you a bathroom, but is that enough to change the home? Generally speaking, you do a bathroom, but is the flooring deficient? Is the kitchen deficient? Was that $10,000 well spent just on one room? Or could you really dress up the external of the property to really polish it up and make it look like a beautiful home from the front, give it that great facade and presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good thing. I mean, you don't get much of a bathroom for 10 grand these days, but if you're going to take it to that next level, it's what's relevant there. Look, I think what you said with landscaping is really important because, you might have the world's best interior of a home and you're looking out and it's a sandpit. It's not really that desirable. And I think that you can spend very little money on a landscaping and get really good results. And I think that's good how you can really stretch out your money and get the best results from that. And, nice landscaping is absolutely appreciated by, I think, most people. So
yeah, absolutely.
Works well.
Yeah.
Right. Chadi, look, thank you for coming in. And I know that, you've got a wealth of information and I know you've got a wealth of knowledge that we do want to get you back in future podcasts. And we want to make sure that, that we're getting your expertise from an agent's point of view, because I think a lot of people are interested in that because they're building and renovating and they're relying on information they've heard from other people, but it's not necessarily factual or accurate. And you're really good at what you do. So Chadi from Bourkes Property, I really thank you for coming on. You're a great agent and I like working with you.
Thank you, Behan. It's been a pleasure and thank you for having me on.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.